In a small village called Nkana, nestled deep within the heart of Africa, there lived a young boy named Kofi. Kofi was known for his curious nature. He loved exploring the vast forests surrounding the village, climbing the highest trees, and listening to the whispers of the wind. But one thing that fascinated him more than anything was the mysterious drum that stood in the center of the village square. The drum was made of ancient wood, covered with the hide of a lion, and it had intricate carvings that told stories of the ancestors. No one knew exactly where the drum had come from. Some said it had been handed down from the gods themselves, while others believed it had been brought by the first Chief Nnamdi, who founded the village many generations ago. Regardless of its origin, the drum was always silent during the day, untouched by anyone. Only at night, when the moon was high, did the elders gather around it to listen. But for years, no one had heard it speak. That night, Kofi tossed and turned on his sleeping mat. The sound of the drum kept calling him, soft but steady, like a heartbeat in the darkness. Unable to resist, he slipped quietly out of his hut. The village lay silent under the silver moon, and the night air smelled sweet with flowers. Kofi's feet moved on their own, leading him toward the ancient Baobab tree where the mysterious drum stood, hidden in shadows. But something was different that night. The air was thick with a strange energy, and the wind seemed to hush as if holding its breath. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow over the village. Kofi felt as if the drum was watching him, waiting. He took a deep breath and, with trembling hands, he reached out and touched the smooth, worn surface of the drum. Just as his fingers made contact, a soft sound filled the air, a low, rumbling beat, almost like a heartbeat, coming from deep within the drum. Kofi's eyes widened, his body frozen in place. The drum was speaking. But how? Why now? He had to know what was happening. Kofi's heart raced as the drum's sound grew louder. The rhythmic thumping echoed through the quiet night, sending shivers down his spine. It wasn't just a sound, it was a deep, powerful vibration that seemed to resonate with the very core of his being. He stepped back, his feet uncertain on the earth beneath him. His mind was racing, trying to make sense of what he was hearing. The villagers had always said that the drum could speak to those who were chosen, but no one had ever explained what that truly meant. Kofi had heard the old stories. The drum would only speak when the time was right, when a great danger was approaching, or when the village needed guidance. His grandmother had told him stories of the drum guiding their ancestors to safety during times of war and famine, but those stories felt like fairy tales to him. He had never believed them. Until now. As Kofi stood before the drum, a strange warmth wrapped around him, making his skin tingle. The soft beats grew louder in his ears, as if the drum recognized him. Moonlight bathed the drum's surface, making it shimmer like water. His heart pounding, Kofi slowly reached out. The moment his fingers touched the drum, a deep voice echoed inside his mind, calling him by name, Kofi. The time has come. The drum's beat slowed, and then, as if sensing Kofi's confusion, a voice suddenly rang out from the darkness. It was deep and ancient, like the voice of the wind itself. Kofi, it said, the name floating on the air like a whisper in the wind. You have awoken me. The time has come. Kofi staggered backward, his breath catching in his throat. Was he dreaming? Was this real? He looked around, but there was no one in sight. The village was still asleep, and the only sound was the rhythmic beat of the drum. Yet, the voice had been so clear. It had called his name. Who are you? Kofi finally managed to ask, his voice trembling with both fear and curiosity. What do you want from me? There was a long pause before the voice answered, the beat of the drum slowing even further. I am the spirit of the drum, the voice said, its tone soft but commanding. I have watched over this village for generations, and now I have chosen you. Kofi's mind raced. What could this mean? Why him? He was just a young boy, barely old enough to carry the weight of his own decisions, let alone the fate of the village. Chosen for what? Kofi asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His heart was pounding in his chest, and the air around him seemed to thicken with anticipation. The voice from the drum did not answer immediately. Instead, the rhythm of the drum picked up again, faster now, like a drumbeat in the middle of a great battle. The ground beneath Kofi's feet seemed to tremble. The sky, which had been clear only moments before, grew darker, and clouds began to gather overhead. A sense of urgency filled the air. "The darkness is coming," the drum's voice warned. "You must act quickly, Kofi. The village is in danger. The time of the great trial has arrived. You are the one who can stop it." Kofi's mind spun. Darkness? Great trial? What was happening? Before he could speak, the voice continued, its tone growing more urgent. "The village is threatened by a force older than time itself. An ancient evil stirs in the depths of the earth, and only one who is chosen by the drum can stop it. You must seek the Eye of the Leopard, the sacred gem that holds the power to banish this darkness. The journey will be perilous, and the path is unknown. But you must succeed, or the village will fall." Kofi's stomach twisted into knots. He had heard stories of the Eye of the Leopard, a magical stone hidden deep in the heart of the jungle. It was said to have the power to grant immense strength and wisdom, but no one had seen it in generations. Many had searched for it, but none had returned. "How do I find it?" Kofi asked, his voice steadying despite the fear that gripped his heart. The drum's voice was quiet, but its words were full of authority. "You will know the way when you see it. Trust your heart, Kofi. The drum will guide you." Before Kofi could respond, the voice faded, leaving only the sound of the drum's beat, which slowly began to quiet. The wind, which had been howling just moments before, settled into a strange silence. Kofi stood in the middle of the village square, his mind reeling with what he had just heard. The drum had spoken to him. It had chosen him. And now, he was faced with a task that seemed impossible: find the Eye of the Leopard and save the village. The air was still heavy with the mystery of the moment. Kofi took a deep breath and looked at the drum, its surface now smooth and calm, as though nothing had happened. But Kofi knew that his life had just changed forever. The village was in danger, and he was the only one who could stop it. Kofi stood motionless for what felt like an eternity. The world around him was eerily silent. His mind raced as he tried to process what the drum had told him. The Eye of the Leopard? He had heard the stories, of course, but they were just that, stories. Now, he was being asked to find it and save the village from some ancient evil. He shook his head, trying to clear the confusion. Suddenly, the wind picked up again, rustling the leaves of the Baobab tree above him. The soft whisper of the trees seemed to speak to him, urging him to act. "Go now," the wind seemed to say. Kofi nodded to himself, as if the trees themselves were giving him the courage he needed. He had no choice but to follow the path the drum had set for him. With a deep breath, Kofi turned and ran toward his house. He knew he would need supplies, food, water, and his spear, which he had been training with for years. The journey ahead would be dangerous, but he was determined. The village depended on him. When Kofi reached his hut, he quickly gathered everything he needed. His mother, Amina, was still asleep, unaware of the danger that was coming. Kofi didn't want to worry her, so he left a note, telling her he had gone to the forest to gather herbs and would be back before dawn. With his heart heavy but his resolve stronger than ever, he quietly slipped out of the house and into the dark night. The path to the jungle was long and treacherous, winding through dense forests and thorny bushes. The moonlight was dim, and Kofi's senses were on high alert. He had traveled this way before, but tonight, everything felt different. There was an oppressive weight in the air, and every sound, every rustle of the leaves, seemed amplified. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. As Kofi ventured deeper into the jungle, the once familiar sounds of the night began to fade. The usual chorus of crickets and owls was replaced by an unsettling silence. The trees, towering and ancient, loomed over him like silent sentinels. He pressed forward, his feet barely making a sound on the soft earth beneath him. Hours passed, and Kofi began to feel the strain of the journey. His legs were sore, and his eyes were heavy with exhaustion. Yet, he could not stop. The drum had chosen him, and the village needed him. "I must succeed," he whispered to himself. Just as he was about to give in to the weariness, a strange light appeared in the distance. It flickered like a distant flame, casting shadows that danced eerily across the forest floor. Kofi's heart skipped a beat. Could it be the eye of the leopard? Or was it a trick of the night? Kofi quickened his pace, moving toward the light. As he drew closer, the light grew brighter, and the air around him seemed to hum with energy. He pushed aside a thick vine, and there, in the clearing ahead, stood a large rock formation. In the center of the formation, resting on a stone pedestal, was the eye of the leopard. It glowed with a golden light, its surface smooth and shimmering as if it held the very power of the earth itself. Kofi approached cautiously, his heart racing. The stories had been true. The eye of the leopard was real. As he reached out to take it, a deep voice echoed through the jungle, sending a shiver down his spine. "You are brave, young one," the voice said. "But bravery alone will not save your village. The darkness that threatens it is ancient, and it will not be easily defeated." Kofi froze, his fingers just inches from the eye. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice trembling with both fear and defiance. The voice chuckled, a deep, rumbling sound that seemed to shake the very ground beneath Kofi's feet. "I am the guardian of the eye," the voice said. "And I will not allow just anyone to take its power. You must prove your worth." Kofi's mind raced. Prove his worth? How could he do that? "What must I do?" Kofi asked, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. The voice answered, "You must face your greatest fear. Only then will you be ready to wield the power of the eye and defeat the darkness." Without warning, the ground beneath Kofi's feet began to tremble. The jungle around him seemed to come alive, as shadows moved and twisted into shapes. From the darkness emerged a figure, a shadowy figure, its eyes glowing red with malice. It was the embodiment of fear itself. Kofi's heart pounded in his chest as the figure approached. It was tall, with long, twisting limbs and a face that seemed to shift and change with every blink. It was the darkness that the drum had warned him about, the ancient evil. "You are weak, boy," the figure sneered. "You cannot defeat me. I am the fear of all who walk this land. You cannot escape me." Kofi's knees felt weak, but he stood tall. He clenched his fists and took a deep breath. He knew what he had to do. The drum had chosen him for a reason. He was not just a boy. He was a part of the village, a part of the earth, and he would not let it fall. With a burst of courage, Kofi shouted, "I am not afraid of you." The darkness hesitated for a moment, its form flickering. Kofi took this opportunity to grab the eye of the leopard from its pedestal. The moment his fingers touched the gem, a wave of power surged through him. The darkness screeched, retreating into the shadows as the golden light of the eye grew brighter. The jungle trembled as the evil spirit vanished, and the jungle returned to its peaceful state. Kofi stood there, panting, holding the eye of the leopard in his hand. The battle was over. Kofi stared at the glowing gem in his hand, feeling its warmth spread through his body. He knew the village was safe, for now. But he also knew that the journey was not truly over. He had to bring the eye of the leopard back to Nkana, to the drum, to seal the protection over his people. The walk back through the jungle felt different. The shadows no longer seemed menacing. The trees whispered encouragement rather than threats. The path, which had once been hidden and treacherous, now seemed to open before him, as if the forest itself was guiding him home. By the time Kofi reached the edge of the village, the first rays of the sun were peeking over the horizon. The villagers were beginning to stir, yawning and stepping out of their huts. When they saw Kofi, dusty and tired but holding the glowing eye, they gasped in awe. Old Chief Nnamdi, leaning heavily on his carved staff, hobbled toward Kofi. His wise eyes widened when he saw the gem. He bowed his head deeply, showing respect. "The drum has spoken," the chief said. "And you, Kofi, have answered the call. You have saved us all." Kofi smiled, though he was too exhausted for words. With careful steps, he walked to the center of the village square, where the ancient drum waited under the Baobab tree. The surface of the drum seemed to shimmer in the morning light, as if welcoming him back. He placed the eye of the leopard at the base of the drum. Instantly, the ground trembled softly, and the drum gave a deep, resonant beat that echoed across the village. The sound was rich and powerful, filling everyone's hearts with hope and strength. The villagers cheered, lifting Kofi onto their shoulders, singing songs of praise. They danced around the Baobab tree, their colorful garments swirling in the golden morning light. Kofi, tired but smiling, felt a deep peace settle in his heart. He had found courage he never knew he had. That night, for the first time in many years, the drum spoke loudly for all to hear. Its beats told the story of a brave boy who listened to the call, faced his fears, and saved his people. The elders smiled as they listened, knowing that the spirit of the ancestors was strong within Kofi. From that day forward, Kofi became a hero in Nkana. He was no longer just a curious boy. He was Kofi the brave, guardian of the drum. And though many challenges would come to the village over the years, everyone knew that as long as the drum spoke, and brave hearts like Kofi answered, Nkana would endure. And so, whenever the drum spoke at midnight, the people of Nkana would gather around, knowing that its voice carried the wisdom and courage of their ancestors, and of a young boy who had once listened to its call and changed their destiny forever. Did you enjoy the story? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more African tales every week. What would you do if the drum spoke to you at midnight? Let me know in the comments below.